Welcome back, Mando.
Oh, greetings, Bucketheads. Mavar Tagar. Welcome to our 296th rousingly rebelling episode of Mandovision. I am your host, Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small, independent Star Wars podcast. We're so glad you're here. Reach out to us on the socials at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram, Mandovision at Blue Sky. Email the show at mandovisiontom@gmail.com, and make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. All right, Bucketheads, welcome back. We are diving back into our rewatch of Star Wars Rebels, which I'm very excited about. I'm very excited to get into the second season with you guys. But a little Star Wars news has happened, and I think it bears talking about. And depending on how you felt about Star Wars: The Acolyte, maybe you don't care for this news one bit. But it's news that is fueling some fires, if you will. We talked about our personal perspective when The Acolyte was announced as being canceled, that it felt unfortunate because they hadn't gotten to tell their story, which is always disappointing when it comes to these kind of shows. And I think we even said on the record that it would be a shame if the show was canceled due to the sort of bullying aspect of one particular side of the Star Wars fandom. And now this report comes out from Lumite that was on Deadline's website that The Acolyte was actually Disney Plus's second most watched show of all of last year, which suggests that the show did have a very, very strong audience, and that it warranted a continuation. But because it was a show that sent so many of the negative members of the fandom into outrages and tizzy fits and things of that nature, it seems that perhaps that may have played a role in Disney deciding to not move forward with the show, which is, in my opinion, pretty unacceptable. To sort of kowtow to a small but vocal minority who is, to be blunt, a fairly toxic portion of the fandom. So that really is distressing information. It really bums me out to think that that's the way that they decided to go, the way they decided to handle things was to give in to this bullying. There's many examples now that you get again. Disney and Lucasfilm didn't support their employees, their cast members for the show by sort of standing up for them when they were targeted on social media for bullying and accusatory statements and things like that. And it's unfortunate. It's just a bummer that a portion of the fandom has this kind of power over the decision makers at Lucasfilm and Star Wars. And we've been seeing signs of this for quite some time, since the sequel trilogy started out. And again, disappointing is just the best word I can use without saying anything stronger and probably more profane. Again, I am not going to sit here and say that the Acolyte was a perfect show, because in my opinion it was not. It had flaws, but I liked the way it was challenging the lore and the way it was giving us something fresh, right? Something different. And so to have that taken away because some less than upstanding members of the fandom decided to target the show and review bomb the show and go after the cast and crew of the show is disappointing, to say the least. And that's the last I'm going to say on the topic. for today. But by all means, head over to Deadline and check it out. Several other websites have picked up the story, and they're talking about it. So feel free to read their opinions and help illuminate yours, if you will. All right. That being said, I think it's time to get into some other stuff, particularly Star Wars Rebels. I'm very excited to get going in this episode. So let's go ahead and get our episode particulars out of the way right now. Oops, sorry, just dropped that. All right, friends, this is Star Wars Rebels, Season 2, Episode 1, The Siege of Lothal. Original air date, June 20th, 2015. The episode is directed by Brad Rao and Bosco NG, written by Henry Gilroy, and our plot. Now part of Phoenix Squadron, the Ghost crew joins a mission to steal shield generators from an Imperial freighter. Under pressure from Darth Vader, an Imperial defector leads the Sith Lord to battle with Kanan and Ezra. That is a very generous plot. I'm not going to lie. That's more information than I thought it would have given us. But yeah, this episode we move into, as they teased at the end of Season 1, after our heroes defeated Moff Tarkin's forces at Mustafar, Vader has arrived on Lothal and will now be leading the hunt for these rebels. All right, let's get into the episode. You know what that means. It's time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Get out of here. We'll hold them off.
You're going to have to relocate the covert.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So one of the things I really like about this opening of Season 2 is we're immediately in the action. We see our heroes, our friends, as part of a larger, burgeoning beginning of the Rebel Alliance. They're not out on their own. They're not an individual rebel cell any longer. They are part of Phoenix Squadron, and that means they have more support to do the things they're trying to do. So they're attacking an Imperial frigate. They're trying to get... it turns out to be fuel reserves, but I forget what they were going for initially. It was like hyperdrive cores or something like along those lines. I wish I had written it down, but again, we're seeing the Ghosts and the Spectres operating as part of a larger unit here to engage the Imperials on a larger scale. It's escalating the resistance, the rebellion against the Empire. But also at the same time, like the tone of Season 2 becomes darker because the stakes are being raised. As we know from the end of Season 1, they managed to get the best of Tarkin. He's not going to forget that. He has sent Vader to Lothal to root out these rebels. So the stakes are higher for our friends. And while it's fun to see them as part of a larger, beginning phases of the Rebel Alliance, there are going to be consequences for these actions, and that is the Empire stepping up to squash said rebellion. Before, when it was just these lone cells, it felt isolated, it felt small, it felt insignificant. But as they sort of have alluded to in Andor, these things seem to be taking shape. They seem to be organized. They seem to be controlled. And so the Empire needs to get its stuff together and stop treating these as small, isolated acts of rebellion and recognize that it's something bigger. It's something that's coming right at them. So one of the things we learn really quickly from the opening sequences is that, yes, they're part of this new squadron, this new team, but Kanan does not seem to necessarily agree with the track that they're on right now. And while he's doing his part in making sure that he and his surrogate family all survive this and live to fight another day, he has a very different attitude than the rest of them, who seem to be more engaged as part of the fight here. And Kanan will address that down on the other side here after they make their daring escape here after raiding this frigate. But pay attention. A lot of good action in here. It's a really great opening sequence, and I think it helps really set a strong tone for what they're going to be doing here in season 2 as the stakes are raised, and our heroes find themselves in more peril than they had been before. Again, as the eye of the Empire falls more directly on them for their actions, and again, good stuff here. So now we cut back to Lothal after our heroes escape, and Minister Tua attempting to draw these rebels out, but she's sort of at her wit's end, doesn't know how to do these things. Like, these are tactics that are beyond her, and she tries to explain this to Callus, and Agent Callus has no time. He has no sympathy for these excuses. And it's Lord Vader who enters the room to instill the proper amount of fear into Tua that, oh, no, we're doing this. It's happening. We're getting these rebels. And I think it's very effective. And I realize now that we didn't read off our cast, but of course you can tell immediately that James Earl Jones is the voice of Darth Vader in this episode. And it stands out quite a bit that when you get the OG, the James Earl himself, voicing Vader. And I don't know if this is when I would imagine he was still in good enough health to be in the studio to do this. We know he has since sold his voice to Disney and probably recorded a million things, and now these computers and AI can do Vader's voice. But I like to believe that he was in the room doing the voice for this time around. But I don't know for certain.
You lack imagination, Minister, when it comes to producing results.
Lord Vader, with all due respect, you and Governor Tarkin are asking for miracles. If the rebels have left Lothal, then...
If the rebels have left, then we must draw them back. And if they are here, we must draw them out. We will squeeze Lothal until someone reveals the whereabouts of these traitors.
I'm sorry, my lord. I am merely a public official. I have no experience with such brutal tactics.
You can explain that to Governor Tarkin when you visit him.
And Tua knows that is no good. So that sets the next thing up, right? She knows she has to get out. So she's going to contact the rebels herself. So she tracks down somebody on Lothal, old Joe. And I guess she believes that he can get him in touch. And so enough, they do. And this is all at the time when Hera and Kanan and everyone, when they're having sort of a debriefing amongst Phoenix Squad, right? With Commander Sato. and Kanan not respecting the military structure of which they now have to work in. So he tells Chopper to come in, and he tells Chopper to play this communication in the middle of a debrief. And Hera is aghast. And we'll get a little bit of an explanation for that afterwards. But yeah, that's the communication. Old Joe has reached out through the channels that he's aware of to find them. And Tua is asking, informing them that she needs to defect. She is in danger, and she's willing to trade information. And one of the pieces of information is the real reason why the Empire is on Lothal, and not just for stripping the planet of its resources. That there's more to it than that. So this sort of like baits the hook, right? Like this, Ezra and Kanan and Ahsoka all sense her fear. So they believe her, and they believe that helping her is the right thing to do. So they're going to go back to Lothal and try to rescue Tua, even though she's been after them the entire time the show's been going. And as they leave the debriefing room, Hera tracks down Kanan and wants to know why he's being the way that he is. And I think Kanan is completely justified in feeling that he doesn't want to do this military thing. He doesn't want to be dragged into another conflict like the Clone Wars. And he remembers the horrors of it all too well. It wasn't that long ago for him. And I think it's commendable that he doesn't want to do this military thing, even though I think ultimately we know that he will do what he has to do. But I understand his reluctance to do it, and I think it's an interesting choice for Kanan. Again, we don't have all the backstory on all of our characters yet for the Spectres, right? We know a little bit of their motivations, and we know that they're good people and they're trying to do right in the galaxy. And they seem more willing to become militaristic in order to achieve their goals. But Kanan's done that. Kanan fought in the Clone Wars, and his resistance to immediately signing up for another military situation like that makes me think that he learned a very valuable lesson on why the Jedi got wiped out the way they did. So now the back half of the episode moves pretty darn quickly as our heroes move into action to rescue Tua, to get that information from her and aid her defection from the Empire. Now, again, the rebels are plenty aware that their actions on Mustafar, the destroying of Tarkin's ship, has got them with a bit of a bullseye on their back, so they don't take the Ghost. They take a ship that they believe they can sneak into Lothal without raising suspicion. But as we get the sense very, very, very quickly, in my opinion, we do, this is a trap. And the question is, I think for us as the audience, is Tua aware that she's in this trap? Is she participating willingly? And we will find out very, very quickly that she is not. She believes, her defection is legitimate. She's trying to get out of there. She is not pulling a con on anyone. So our heroes make it back to Lothal. They sneak around. They're doing the things that we saw them do in Season 1. And they get to Tua. Now, again, Tua is being escorted by Kallus, by stormtroopers, and a little droid that Kallus has that is recording everything that's going on. Our first sign that something is afoot. And our heroes spring into action. They engage Kallus and his forces. They're able to separate Tua from Kallus, and all's going well, right? They're going to run up into this ship and they're going to take off and get out of there, right? Not so fast, my friends. The ship blows up as soon as Tua gets on board. She's toast. That's over. And then the Imperial forces begin to descend upon our heroes. Now, again, they make their escape. But again, Vader is lurking around. Vader was aware. He was there. He might have been the one to trigger that bomb. He sees all this happening. And this is his plan, his way of smoking these rebels out and getting to the bottom of this and ending this once and for all. Our heroes go into hiding. They have to formulate a new plan. They have to get off Lothal. There's a lot of heat going on, and they come up with a crazy plan, but a plan that makes the most sense at the same time. The Imperials are casting a wide net around Lothal, around the capital. So there's little places they can go. Every airfield's been locked down, right? Well, they're going to go to the Imperial Center and steal a ship and get the heck out of there. But it doesn't go according to plan. No. By the way, just for the record, the heroes have our heroes on the recording that the Empire is making it look like they kill Tua, right? So now Vader and the Imperial Ministry of besmirching people will go out there and say that these rebels are nothing but terrorists. Look at what they're doing. They're killing people. They're killing your representatives. So Vader, using those brutal tactics that Tua didn't know how to employ herself. So Vader destroying the reputation of these rebels, and now framing them for, as senseless terrorists, violence, and murderers. So the plan goes off, right? Like they're doing their rebel things, the things, again, that we've seen them do in the past. They're very skilled at doing, at evading the Empire, at evading detection. Well, it does not go so well because the forces of the Empire converge on them, and the episode ends in a great, great fashion as Vader comes around them, engages the red lightsaber, and we go to credits. I know we sort of fast forwarded a lot of the stuff in this episode, but there are so many great little moments, particularly for the Jedi for Ezra and for Kanan, like as they are returning to Lothal, and Ezra all of a sudden says, "I feel so cold," as they enter the field, the presence of Darth Vader, and so these all these little warnings here that our friends are going to be in deep poodoo. I really like the way the episode just boom, 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 super fast paced, super action oriented, but with character action that makes a ton of sense, right? And for the first time, we're seeing our heroes butt up against something that they were unprepared for. And again, the Spectres have a good ability to improvise, but Darth Vader is a different level of what they've gone up against before, and I think that's what this first episode shows us so well. Because as Kallus says to Vader, everything has gone the way you predicted it to go. So, Vader very, very consciously set this all in motion, and they have done everything that he expected them to do to put them in this position. And now Vader's forces are on the verge of capturing or killing the Spectres, and again, him firing up that red lightsaber, Kanan and Ezra. For Kanan, this is going to be a very triggering moment to see Vader before him like this. I think it ends in a great fashion. There's a lot of suspense for the cliffhanger, and I can't wait to see how it resolves, right? Because again, Vader's a bad man, and he's going to do bad things. So how will our heroes escape? And I can't wait to talk to you about it next time. Great episode to kick off season 2. Again, we have a new darker tone for the series as Vader comes to play, and the stakes are raised. And again, we get those beginnings of the Rebel Alliance coming together. 9 buckets, super great episode to really just launch this second season into a new level, into a new stratosphere, if you will. Check it out. Good quality entertainment. And with that being said, I think we're going to wrap up the podcast right now and get ready to watch the second episode. We'll be back soon for Season 2, Episode 2 of Star Wars Rebels. In the meantime, there's something in the back of my head that makes me think we're going to have more Star Wars news to talk about very, very soon. Obviously, if you're a sports enthusiast, we're getting close to the big game. Could there possibly be an Andor trailer released during the Super Bowl? Not sure, but I think we got to be really, really close to Disney releasing an Andor trailer for us to talk about, to get us fired up, to get us excited. I'd love to hear some news if Skeleton Crew's going to continue in the near future. So yeah, I think some Star Wars stuff is going to be happening soon. Obviously, Celebration's coming up down the way. They may be saving a few things for that. Things in the Star Wars Marvel Comics universe are shifting gears later this spring, as the series will begin chronicling the adventures of the New Republic. And I think we'll end up talking about that at some point, because as a big fan of the Star Wars Expanded Universe from back in the day, I do want to compare and contrast the original New Republic era versus this New Republic era that we are starting to see via The Mandalorian, via Skeleton Crew, via these new comics that will be coming out. So we're going to be paying attention to that here on the podcast as well. So a lot to look forward to. 2025 is off to a great start, and rewatching this season of Rebels is already a blast, and I can't wait to really get into it. We don't have to spend... we don't have to get acquainted with these characters. We know enough about them that we want to know. We want to go on these adventures, and when we get those pieces of backstory for why they're doing what they're doing, what put them in this place, it's compelling stuff, and I'm looking forward to getting into all of that with you guys in the very near future here. All right. So again, I urge you to go out there, be great Star Wars fans, and I thank you for your continued support of this podcast. We are nearing 300 episodes, and I would not be here without the insane amount of support that I've gotten from this wonderful, wonderful audience. The Buckethead Nation, you guys are the best. Thank you so much. I don't know if we'll do anything amazingly cool for episode 300 or not, but it'd be fun. So maybe I can think of something here for us. All right. But again, thank you for all the years of support. It means the world to me. Hit me up on the socials at Mando_Vision, Twitter and Instagram. You can hit me up at MandoVision on Blue Sky. You can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. If possible, or so inclined, sweet 5-star reviews. They help the small independent shows like us stand out and not get lost in the shuffle. All right, Bucketheads. Thank you. We'll be back next week, unless something important happens in the meantime. But remember, this podcast, it only ends one way, my friends. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.